الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Today we are continuing our short lectures on the brief introduction to Islamic jurisprudence or fiqh. In our last short and brief lesson, I said that fiqh linguistically comes from a word that means ilm and understanding, knowledge and understanding, and it is a profound and deep understanding. This deep and profound understanding is not just in the Islamic ahkam, not just in the rulings, but is in all the branches of Islamic educational material. So one may have a profound understanding in the science of beliefs. One may have a profound understanding in ilm al-akhlaq. One may have a profound understanding in the jurisprudence. But this word has become narrowed down to signify and to indicate upon a specific branch of Islamic education, Islamic knowledge, So that is the science of ahkam, the science of jurisprudence. What we mean by fiqh is not just the masail, but when we talk about ilm al-fiqh, it is the science of working and arriving at these kinds of rulings. And then the maraja, they come and they present their research, their findings, and they present their masail, their ruling. And I said that we have hukm taklifi. Hukm taklifi are the rulings of responsibility, and they are 5: wajib, haram, mustahab, makruh, and mubah. Wajib, like salah. It is wajib upon every sane, mature Muslim to pray his daily salah. It is a major sin not to pray salah. There is a command. We must do it. It's mandatory to do, and if we don't do it, there's a threat of punishment from Allah the Exalted. Haram is something where we have to avoid it, like drinking alcohol, taking things that mess the rationality up, committing zina, using filthy, immoral words that people find disrespectful when uttered. These things are haram. Then you had mustahab things, and there are some examples, some of the things that we do in salah, like the 3 takbir at the end of salah is mustahab. And there's lots of different mustahab things, like there's mustahab wusuls, and there's all sorts of mustahab things. Mustahab is something that's good to do, but there's no punishment, no threat of punishment from Allah if we don't do them. It's not a sin. Sins are related to wajib and haram. Then you have makruh. There's something makruh. An example of it is eating raw meat, eating raw animal, eating raw meat. So like the raw meat is the food of the predators. So like it's among the makruh things mentioned. Then mubah is something that's neutral, something that's absolutely neutral amongst all these sides. It doesn't have any dislike for it, any recommendation for it. It's not haram, it's not wajib, it's completely neutral, completely in between and neutral thing. So some people maybe they feel like the rulings are overwhelming, but in reality it's not a lot. It's not hard to stay away from these number of haram things, and it's not hard to implement these several things in your daily life that are wajib to do. It takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes for a prayer a day, per prayer, and it could take a few minutes for wudu. It's not a big deal to make sure that you eat halal. It's not really a lot of rulings. The Islamic rulings are really applicable and and able to be applied in your daily life. So it's not overwhelming. It may look like that when you're learning it all different things, but once you put it into place and you know the proper rulings, it's not it's not something that is, too difficult to do. And what happens is maybe people feel overwhelmed by their lack of care for rulings. They have a sense of lawlessness. They want to just do whatever they want. They want to let nafsul amara just run wild, just go crazy, go this place, that place, and do whatever it wants. Wreck this person's property, wreck this person's right, wreck their own soul. They have this overwhelming lawlessness in them, and they need to realize to bring themselves to rein in that nafs amara and put it into the right order, into the right direction, because nafs amara is like a kind of like a wild horse. It needs to be trained and reined in, and then inshallah it'll become something that works works for you, not wherever it wants to go. You should go where you want it to go. So, and then you should have that governed by aql and religion. So our next topics here that we are going to discuss in this short introduction brief introduction of fiqh are, what are the sections of fiqh? When we look at fiqh, we can see that there are many different chapters, and there's many different laws, like I said. And don't let this be overwhelming, because some of these laws, you only need to know what you need for your daily life. You don't need to study all the thousands upon thousands of laws. That's for scholars to do, because they need to know how to advise people in all these areas and what the different rulings are in these areas. But you need to know what is necessary for your daily life. So you learn a little bit from this book, a little bit from that book. You learn Kitab al-Salah, Kitab al-Taharat. You learn some of the rulings about food and drink. You learn some of the rulings about if you work in a business, or about hire or trades and transactions, things like this. And then if necessary, you come and you could ask the Muraja and see the different rulings, or you could look up the different rulings for certain new situations in your life, but it's not something that should be overwhelming, because what you need is what you need essentially for your life. But there are many different chapters in fiqh. There's many different, we call them books, kitabs of fiqh, and these are like big chapters of fiqh. We could divide them into a kind of division that one of our famous scholars, Muhakkik Hilli, has done. Muhakkik Hilli has divided them into ibadat, uqud, ika'at, and akam. Ibadat, uqud, ika'at, akam. So these are the four major divisions that Muhakkik Hilli has divided the Islamic akam, the Islamic rulings, into. The ibadat section are all those chapters related to worships. Ibadat is a kind of one of those kamza akam we talked about. That is ta'budi. Ta'budi means that it is something that requires the niyatul qurba, the intention for doing this for the sake of Allah, out of obedience to Allah, for it to be valid. And over here, there are all those rulings in this book, but there's also all the prerequisites and the rulings that go along with these sections of books. So like making something pure from khabath, from something physically impure, doesn't need niyatul qurba. But doing wudu, purifying yourself from a spiritual impurity, requires niyatul qurba, the intention of obedience to Allah, or for the sake of Allah, or to get closer to Allah. So, and then we have tawassuli. Tawassuli means that kind of thing that doesn't require the intention of nearness to Allah for it to be valid. Like doing a marriage contract. It's better to do it with that intention, but if a person recites the marriage contract for a couple just to get paid, it's still a valid marriage contract. But if a person prays for people to be seen, for people to see them pray, because it's an ibadat, then their intention is not for Allah, not praying because Allah has commanded them. Their prayer is batil, it's invalid. So there's a difference between ta'budi and tawassuli. So this section of ibadat that he has the chapter of Kitab al-Taharat, where you talk about purification from impurities, wudu, the najasats, tayammum, lavatory rules, the ghusl, also the hayd, the menstruation, the rulings of the deceased, and the tayammum, all in that section. And then you have Kitab al-Salah, the book of prayer, and there you talk about your daily salah, your mustahab salah, your congregational salah, your travel salah, your qadha salah, makeup salah, and all these things in this section. Then you have Kitab al-Siyam, the book of fasting. And there you talk about the breakers of fast, what happens if you got to make up your fast, the kafaras, and all these types of things. And then you have khums and zakat. These are acts of worship as well. Khums is 1/5 of it. It has different sections, and maybe we could introduce it then as we go on. And zakat, and you have all these different sections, and there's more in this book. And then you have the uqud. Uqud means the bilateral contracts, two-sided contracts. So it's a two-sided contract, like trades and transactions, when you buy and sell something. Or a marriage contract is a two-sided contract. Once one side says something, says the marriage formula, and the other one accepts, then they both agree, and all these rights get acted in a contract with each other. So these are two-sided contracts. So in that section you have all the rulings related to two-sided contracts, where there's party A and party B. And then you have the ika'at, which is the one-sided contracts, where there's only one side to it. And then you have the akam, which are the miscellaneous. There you have the rulings of tazkiyah, the Islamic slaughtering of animals, the hunting rules, the permissible foods and drinks, all these different areas in there. So that will conclude our short, brief fiqh lesson for this time. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.